God damn it, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Why do you keep appearing on my channel all of a sudden? I've never read any of your books even. I've seen movies based on your books, but I've never read any of them personally. I mean, nothing against you. I mean, you have shaped some of the biggest characters in fiction and biggest icons in pop culture. You know, The Lost World is probably the most famous dinosaur story, just next to Jurassic Park, and countless others. I mean, I'm not gonna knock the guy, but he keeps showing up on my channel. What the hell? I mean, it's almost like he's Godzilla or something. No, but today, as the title implies, we're here to talk about Sherlock. Now, what does that mean? Are we talking about the Sherlock Holmes films starring Robert Downey Jr.? No, I haven't seen the sequel, so we're not talking about that. Am I talking about the new show on, I guess it's CBS or NBC, whatever, American channel, the new Sherlock show on that channel called Elementary, where Watson is a girl? No, we're not talking about that either. We're talking about probably, at least in our modern era, the most heralded, widely loved, and probably, at least right now, the most popular version of Sherlock Holmes. The BBC TV series called Sherlock, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman as Sherlock Holmes and what's his name? Well, Watson. John Watson. I was trying to think of his first name, but I couldn't. I kept thinking Jim Moriarty for some reason. Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, respectively. I've heard nothing but praise and love for this show for about a year and a half. Basically, since it started airing in America, it's been just praised the hell out of. People just seem to love it. And, you know, I was like, alright, cool. I don't really like Sherlock Holmes, so I got no interest. And, again, I have nothing against Sherlock Holmes. I just don't really like crime stories, which I know sounds weird since I'm such a big superhero fan and a James Bond fan, but crime and mystery stories in and of themselves don't really sing to me, if that makes any sense. The idea of solving a murder is just not really all that appealing to me. I find other more interesting story aspects and character things to be more desirable. Character confrontation, character studies, war, all these different things. I find, and espionage even, which is a form of crime, but it's a little different. I find that to be a more interesting basis for a story as opposed to a mystery crime story. So that's why I never really liked or got into Sherlock Holmes. Of course, you can't live in modern society without at least knowing something about Sherlock Holmes, but just never really thrilled me. So when people were telling me that I had to watch this show, I was just like, no, I don't really want to. I don't like Sherlock Holmes. You know, just if it's good, great. I have no interest whatsoever. And then I saw the trailer for Star Trek Into Darkness, where Benedict Cumberbatch is playing someone in the Star Trek sequel. And I was like, God damn, he's got an epic voice. And I mean, I was just like, this guy has an amazing voice. I was immediately like, this guy needs to star in everything now. He needs to play every character ever. Yeah, I mean, just what a goddamn voice. I was just immediately into him. And, of course, big thing, he's known for Sherlock. So, I was like, alright, if he's in it, I'm gonna watch this show. That, and also, after Sid Part 2 started getting me into Doctor Who, and I found out that the current head of the Doctor Who show co-created Sherlock with some other guy. You know, two people I like a lot. His name is Stephen Moffat. In one show, I've at least got to give it a try. And I did. And I said to myself, I'm going to watch the first 10 minutes of this and then turn it off because I don't like Sherlock Holmes. I watched all 3 episodes in the first series in one day. Spent all day watching it because each episode is an hour and a half long. So, let me relay my experience to you. Now, we're going to be talking about both series that are available on Netflix, because that's how I'm watching the show. And I'm waiting with bated breath for Series 3 I know it's not even released on TV yet, meaning it's not going to come out on Netflix for quite a while. In fact, this might even prompt me to start watching TV again, if it means I get to see more Sherlock, especially with the ending of Series 2. And so yeah, we're going to be talking about the first 2 series and my experience watching, and basically we're just going to be reviewing it. So not like that's anything new for me, but I've never talked about Sherlock Holmes on my channel, so it's going to be a little bit of a new tack for me. So let's get into it. Let's get into BBC's Sherlock. The premise is intriguing, but not really original. The premise is basically updating Sherlock Holmes to the modern day, which has been done a lot. I mean, most traditional Sherlock Holmes stories take place in the Victorian era. Doyle's books and most of the film versions will take place in the Victorian era. In fact, the Robert Downey Jr. films do. But there have been a lot of modern reworkings of Sherlock Holmes. A lot of them, in fact, on TV. Not many films will go into the modern day Sherlock Holmes, except for the Basil Rathbone stuff. But that was nearly a TV show because of the frequency that they came out. So, you know, except for that, really, there's been lots of modern updates on Sherlock Holmes. In fact, there was even a video game, I think, where they... oh, no, it was a TV show, where they stuck Sherlock Holmes in the future. Interesting. Which I actually think has Watson as a girl. Interesting. I remember seeing an intro for that at one point in my youth, and so this is not really an original idea. What makes Sherlock stand out as probably unquestionably the best interpretation of Sherlock Holmes? Well, a couple things. I think it's the acting primarily. I mean, most people who rant about this show, you know, in good ranting, I mean, rant has a weird meaning nowadays, ranting in a good way, just raving about, I guess raving is a better way to say it, raving about how awesome and amazing the show is. They'll usually point to Benedict Cumberbatch as the reason why it is so just unquestionably awesome. And I think that that's fair. He is, as I said, he's awesome. His voice, his mannerisms, his character, the way he plays Sherlock Holmes, it's just all so engrossing and so very interesting. And it just makes you want to learn more about his character. And that, I think, is at the core of why I was hooked on Sherlock. It's the character of Sherlock Holmes that got me hooked, and John Watson. They're the core of what got me hooked. That duo is what drives that show's amazing quality for me. It's not the fact that it's a crime show. That is, in fact, in the background for me. What is at the center of Sherlock that makes it an amazing show is its characters and the way it presents those characters to its audience. It presents them as human, meaning they make mistakes, they are not always nice people, and sometimes they do things that can be seen as a little bit despicable, but that makes them endearing, that makes them interesting, that makes them realistic. I mean, I love a good old romanticized fantasy adventure story. I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones, but sometimes it's just so refreshing. I think it works best on TV, in fact, to just see real people on screen. Just John Watson, man. I really hope Martin Freeman has won some awards for his performance, because wow, he makes this guy who, Watson, in what I've seen of interpretations of Holmes, very, very bland character. And Jude Law is pretty good as him too in the Downey Jr. films, but he plays him as a little bit whiny. And I find that funny since, of course, in every version of Sherlock Holmes, well, most of them, not counting Elementary, I suppose, Watson is supposed to be a military guy. And I like how they don't beat you over the head with that in Sherlock. Not at all. It's at the beginning of his character, because that prompts where he is at the beginning of the show. And I love it comes up naturally and frequently when they're solving cases together, him and Sherlock. I mean, just very naturally, if something comes up that seems like it could be connected to the military, Watson brings something up connected to his military past. I also like how the fact that he was injured is not at the core of his character throughout the show's entire run, at least so far. It's in the first episode, they deal with it in a satisfactory way, and then they move on to other things, and they move on to other things with his character. It's great, great stuff. The show moves at an incredible pace, which is in and of itself incredible because it's a long-ass show. The first season alone is I guess 4.5 hours, which doesn't sound very long for a TV show, but when you watch it, you know, and then you look at what time it is after you started watching, you're like, holy shit, I spent the whole day watching Sherlock, which you're not going to regret. because goddamn, it's awesome. And yeah, it's just a really well-paced show. They balance everything right. There's nothing out of place in Sherlock. The characterization is balanced well, and I like how it's the focal point with the crime and with the mystery itself, since of course Sherlock Holmes is the world's first consulting detective. So that's gotta be the driving force of the narrative, of course, is the cases. And of course each individual episode is a case. But the case is not what draws me in. The cases are fascinating. They're good mystery stories. I mean, they're taken right out of Doyle's stories. They're just updated for a modern audience, and updated very well, mind you. I haven't read Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, but I know people who have, and they constantly rave about how faithful it is, while also the modern updating making it a fresh experience. So kudos to the writers for that. I can't comment on that because I haven't read Doyle's stories, but if that's true, further kudos than what I'm giving them. But yeah, the cases are not what drives the narrative. Well, they are what drives the narrative. They are not at the focal point. The reveal of the mystery at the end is not the thing you watch for. You watch for Sherlock. You watch for Watson. That sounds weird. You know, that's what drew me in, and that's what continued. That's what brought me back to watch series 2. Because again, this is a long ass show. If I was not invested in Holmes and Watson, I would not watch the show. And I was very much so invested in their characters. Their relationship is fascinating. Their friendship is raw and visceral and real. It's really, really great. I haven't seen anything like it on TV in a while. This is definitely the best TV show I have seen in a very long time. Is the best TV show I've ever seen? I'm not going to go that far, but god damn it, it's up there. I mean, just wow. The level of characterization, the level of brains that goes into writing this show, I just find very, very hopeful as a writer myself, or as an amateur one. I find that hopeful. That, you know, Hollywood is criticized nowadays a lot for not putting a lot of brains into their writing, and I think that's fair. Transformers series. Well, obviously this is a British show, but just watch young writers out there, young filmmakers, watch Sherlock, because it's hopeful. It's fresh. It's original. It takes chances with the way it works. It's got a real strong sense of character and sense of bringing real people to life based on fictional characters, and based on fictional characters that are over 100 years old. So, I think Sherlock Holmes is over 100 years old. If I'm wrong on that, someone will correct me in the comments. But you've got a very old idea here with Sherlock Holmes. Very old idea with his relationship with Watson, his friends and colleagues. But the way Sherlock presents it, it works. Is it going to be in... Well, I think what really makes it so fascinating, at least for me, is the modern look and how that modern look plays into their characters. They're very modern men. Just the same way that, say, Sherlock Holmes and Watson are in the film The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, Victorian men. They talk like they were from the Victorian era. Their entire conception of society is based around the Victorian era. And that's cool. I'm very interested in the Victorian era. But for me personally, it was more interesting to see those two characters through a modern lens. What would Sherlock Holmes be like if he was doing what he did back in the Victorian era, now in the age of computers? Did I say computers? Computers, excuse me. It's so interesting and just absolutely genius in the way it brings that to life. One thing, of course, that no one who has either watched the show or heard about the show in great detail, one thing that I'm sure you guys will know is how it approaches showing a text message, Sherlock working things out in his head. It's all done through on-screen text and on-screen images, and it's such an interesting looking show. You have to watch it. I think that there are some movies and TV shows that I can watch and enjoy with my eyes closed. Like, you guys might yell at me for this. I can watch Mystery Science Theater with my eyes closed, because the jokes speak for themselves. while Sherlock's dialogue is incredibly engaging and interesting, I mean, it's, again, brilliantly written, you cannot not watch Sherlock. You have to watch it. What is on screen is so visually interesting and crucial to getting the full grasp of this world and the way Sherlock looks at the world. You have to watch it. And again, that's at the core of this show, is analyzing Sherlock's character, and part of that is the deductions. The fact that he is basically a human computer. That goes back to the stuff Doyle's done in the classic films, and every interpretation of Sherlock Holmes that gets the character right. He is a human computer. He analyzes information and he makes deductions based on it. He calculates based on previous facts and clues and such. And I don't think anything has ever brought that to life on screen in the way that Sherlock has. I mean, just the way that they show it is just so visually interesting, and it looks like the way Sherlock's mind would work, and that's very interesting. Just again, not to repeat myself constantly, but I just have to say, the thing that drives Sherlock for me is Sherlock and Watson. And I think the titling of the show as Sherlock is very, very fitting, because the fast-paced and information-filled editing of the show is very much so how Sherlock sees the world. You constantly see text and multiple images put on screen at once. You constantly see fade-ins and outs and quick cuts and quick jumps and all that, and flashy colors and you know, constantly flashing text that you can't really understand, but it's there. And you know that Sherlock understands it. You get to live this world through Sherlock's eyes, and it's a very interesting lens to look at the world. You look at it as a human computer. You look at it as analyzing all this information. The way they work out deductions is fascinating. And a lot of other Sherlock Holmes stuff, you'll just see him look at someone and then he'll make a deduction. The Downey Jr. films will do close-ups and slow down the frame and show he's making deductions, which is well done. But Sherlock does it better. It does it more interesting because it does the same thing but has text over it. Sherlock doesn't talk. And I think that that's very key. You know, because you wouldn't really talk in your head making deductions like you would if you're speaking. That's why, in the original text, that's why Watson's there. And to a degree in the new series, even though I like how that's brought up, how Watson kind of wonders at the beginning, why are you taking me along? It's almost like Sherlock, you know, Sherlock needs someone to bounce or to relay his information to. So that's Watson's function, and you know, it's a function that one might criticize as a plot contrivance, but at least in the way Sherlock presents it, Watson is, if anything, not a plot contrivance. Watson is, next to Sherlock, the thing that drives this show. Martin Freeman just drives this show, again, with Cumberbatch as his colleague. They just drive this show as this character-driven, you constantly want to see these two guys deal with these cases kind of show, and that's my favorite kind of show. That's why I love Sherlock, is it's character driven. So yeah, it really, to me, and I want to emphasize this, I didn't want to do this review because I didn't actually want to do this review at first because I was worried that I was going to be repeating the same thing that other people have who watch Sherlock and analyze it and say why they love it. Because again, it's a very raved about show, and I didn't want to just jump on the bandwagon of people who love it. You know, I thought that I just want to emphasize that this is my own personal kind of reaction to the show. That what I liked about it is not necessarily what you're going to like about it, or you're going to like it all. So I just want to emphasize that because that's kind of how I'm approaching this review, is relaying my personal experiences with a very popular show. So yeah, for me at least, Sherlock is driven by Sherlock, Watson. The characters, the acting, the clever writing, the incredibly interesting editing. It's all these different things that drive this show for me. Now, again, I was trying to kind of fight the popular conceptions of this show because, again, I didn't just want to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, it's unquestionably awesome. And I've been trying to think of things I don't quite like about it. I think the first episode has some rocky points where character decision doesn't make a whole lot of, you know, you're not quite, it's almost like you're not quite ready yet to jump into this universe, if that makes any sense. I mean, obviously, if you know Sherlock Holmes, you'll be fine, but, or not even that necessarily. The show, it's a little bit jarring at first to just jump into it. Again, I guarantee you that if you're a person who likes to watch shows for character, you'll immediately be drawn in by Sherlock and Watson's characters, but some of the things that happen in the first, like, 15 minutes of the episode are a little bit alienating. Like, it's almost like you're not ready yet to absorb this content. You need a little bit more coronation. And in that way, I think the show is a bit too fast-paced. Like, the first 15 minutes of the first episode is a little bit too fast-paced. But there's interesting character stuff in it that kind of explains that. The fact that Sherlock takes Watson on a case with him, basically the minute they first move into a flat together, is very, very fitting of his character. And it's fitting for Watson's too, since he's this guy who dealt with this military experience, and I like how the military experience is not cliched. It's very non-cliched, in fact. Usually what you'll get is trauma, the horrors of war, which, fair enough, war is hell. And many things have done that and done that well. But that's not what's at the core of Watson's character. Watson misses the war. He misses the excitement of it. He and Sherlock have a common interest, which is constantly brought up in the show that they don't. People are constantly looking at Watson and going, why the hell are you following this guy around? Why are you friends with him? And I don't even necessarily think it's something that needs to be said or can be said, but I'm going to try. They both have a pining for excitement. They're bored and alienated from ordinary life. For Watson, it's action, it's being a hero, it's solving problems, it's being in an exciting, dangerous situation. That's heavily explored in the first episode and throughout the entire series, is that Watson, because no normal person would move in with Sherlock and not yell at him for being a dick and, you know, being full of himself and then running him along on a case about someone being murdered, if there wasn't something that linked them. And for Watson, it's this need for something that you cannot get out of ordinary life. You're not going to get the excitement of solving, you know, of dealing with murder and death and double crosses and all this adventurous kind of stuff in ordinary life. You're not going to get that going to a 9-to-5 job and then coming home at night and watching TV. It's just not going to happen. And Watson needs this. There's some kind of psychological thing in him that needs this. And this is where the realism of the characters come in. Watson and Holmes don't get paid in this version. Well, they do sometimes. It depends on the case. But they'll work with the cops and Detective Lestrade constantly, but won't get paid for it. They do it because, who knows? And people are dumbfounded at why they do it. They do it because they psychologically have to. For Watson, it's the excitement. For Holmes, it's the challenge. Very well explored theme in Sherlock Holmes. So I'm not going to tread on it as much as I did Watson, because I found Watson's really interesting because of how military experience is viewed in our modern day society. It's contrary to that. He liked the war. Does that make him a bad person? No. It makes him an unusual person, but Sherlock is an unusual guy. They're made for each other as friends and companions and partners. Just match made in heaven right there, them solving murders together. So I found that fascinating, and I found that to be refreshing, you know, being someone who's a fan of monster movies and such, and action movies, where that's a very, let's face it, well-tread field, and a very overly tread field in some cases. I mean, during my Godzilla Palooza, I talked about how sick I got of people dying by Godzilla and then people taking revenge for it. It was just such an overly tread area. And I'm not just talking Godzilla. Action movies in general will do this sort of thing. Rambo, for instance. But Rambo was one of the first of it, so and one of the ones that started the cliche. So I'm not going to knock it. I'm just pointing to examples of where you can see that that idea of military trauma. With Watson, it's the opposite. And at first, and I like how it's Sherlock that points this out. He points out that it's this excitement. He liked the war. At first, it very much so comes off as traumatic memories of the war. And that's what I thought when I first watched it. But then when Sherlock talks about how he liked the war, because, and this is another interesting idea. I'm sorry if I'm, going on about this, but it's something that really caught my eye and fascinated me. There's this idea brought up with the fact that Watson doesn't actually need a cane to walk. He doesn't have a limp, really. I mean, he does a little bit, obviously. He did actually get shot in the leg, but it's not like it's not Bruce Wayne from Dark Knight Rises. But during the first episode, he does. He walks around with a cane because he has a bad limp, and whenever he doesn't have it, he really exaggerates the limp. He's not faking it. He psychologically thinks that limp is real. And Sherlock talks about this and deduces this, and so does various people who've guessed this, and Sherlock proves it by, again, deduction. That's what Sherlock does. He concludes, or he doesn't say this, but this is implied, that Watson created this idea of having a bad limp because that's what society expects from someone who comes back from a war. At least nowadays. They don't expect them to like it. They expect it as a duty. And killing people and nearly getting killed yourself is not fun. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a major controversy and problem in our modern day society. And it's expected by modern society for Watson to have that. He killed people. People tried to kill him. So, and again, he doesn't do this on purpose. It's just the way society has trained him. He takes that limp in his leg and exaggerates it as a physical representation of the scar of war. But Watson secretly liked it. There was something in his brain, this unexplainable, psychological, uncontrollable, mind you, urge for the exciting aspects of war. But society won't accept that. Killing people and nearly being killed is seen as dangerous and ethically wrong. No one likes war. But what about those of us who do? We're somewhat ashamed of it, but we can't fight it. I found that idea fascinating. And that's why I really stuck to Watson. That, and also he's kind of aside from that, one aspect of fighting the rules of society, of being a nonconformist. He does in fact become our everyman. He is the guy who he does go to work a little bit. He starts out as a doctor, which is a thread that they don't really continue. I mean, it's implied that Watson is in and out of relationships with girls, but in episode, I think it's episode 2. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's the one with the circus and all that and the assassins. Watson takes a fill-in job at a hospital because, of course, famously, it's Dr. Watson. He's a medical doctor, and that's kind of how he pays for his rent and all that. And I think he also gets a military pension. At least that's mentioned in other versions of the source material. I'm sure it's the case here, just also based on modern society. That's probably one problem aside from the fast-paced feel of the first couple minutes of the first couple parts of the first episode. Another problem I might have is that plot threads are not always picked up on. Usually they are Moriarty, some character stuff between Sherlock and John Watson. But one thing that isn't continued, and maybe there's a line or two I missed about it, in the second episode, Watson, again, he becomes a kind of a fill-in doctor, but then after that, they never do anything with it again. He's just being going off and solving mysteries with Sherlock. Again, I think we're supposed to assume that A, he's getting army pension, and B, Sherlock is, getting some pay from solving some private detective cases. But again, it's nothing. It doesn't ruin the show by any means, but it's like, what happened to that? I don't know, maybe they explained it and maybe I just missed it, but, you know, if I did, you know, leave a comment. But as far as I saw, again, my personal experience was what happened to that girl he was with and what happened to the hospital gig. But again, maybe it was explained and I just missed it, but it didn't seem like I did, so... One little rocky point there with the story and the connection with the characters, since we're missing things in them. So I think that's going to be all I want to say about Sherlock, because again, people have raved about it, and you know, people have just, you know, the public acceptance of it is, you know, not questioned. It is a brilliant show, and it is a brilliant show, realistic, at least again in my opinion. And I'm glad that the public shares that opinion. I'm glad that well-made shows are getting attention. Again, just because something is popular doesn't mean it's overrated. It just means that maybe it is as good as everyone says. And Sherlock was one of those rare cases. So I was very pleased by that. So again, definitely give it a shot. If you're a young filmmaker, writer, or just or if you're a film fanatic or an entertainment industry fanatic, check out Sherlock. I urge you to. It is extremely refreshing. If you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, I'm sure you've already seen it, but if you haven't, watch it, because it is a great interpretation of the character based on what I know of him. But definitely check it out. Sherlock is a must-see show. It's very long, so you know, you might want to pace yourself. I didn't. I just binge watched it. So you know, take it at your own pace, but you know, everyone's pace varies. You're either fast-paced like Sherlock or ordinary paced like Watson. So you're either Holmes or you're Watson. Pick which one you are, but definitely watch Sherlock regardless of which one you are, because it is a great show. I don't even feel the need to rate it, because just it's a brilliant show, and I think that you have to it's one of those things you have to watch for yourself. Because it is just, you cannot just get the experience of Sherlock just by hearing about it, because it is such a unique show. You have to check it out if you want to experience it in any means. So this review does not do it justice at all. Again, I'm just relaying my personal experience with it. I thought it was brilliant. You need to check it out if you're interested in entertainment and all that. But again, even that, I still think it's a fairly accessible show. Just too fast-paced at some points. So that's my review of Sherlock. Absolutely brilliant show. I can't wait for Series 3. But that being said, I also want to give some brief updates in this video. Just some brief ones. We're running on a half hour, so we're going to end in a few minutes. One, again, the Geeky Gentleman live show is coming up next Friday on March 8th. We're going to be doing that around the usual time we record the show, which is around 10:30. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking topic suggestions from our audience. Now, we're going to be doing some of it live. We're doing the whole show live, but we're going to be taking some of the audience suggestions live. But we would prefer it if you guys, if you're interested in leaving a topic for us just to discuss, not a topping, that'd be weird, topic, we urge you to go to the comment section of the most recent edition of Geeky Gentleman, called Comic Art versus Gallery Art, and leave your suggestion for a topic there, and if you leave it, we will discuss it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through all these previously asked topics first, and then once we're through with that list, then we will go into live topics. It's not really questions, topics. So I urge you to do that if you're a fan of Geeky Gentleman, or you like podcasts. It's a podcast show. So if you like podcasts, you like geeky stuff, it's right up there for you. Excuse me. So I urge you to do that. And also to check out the live show. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Me, Ian, and Milan always have fun when we talk, and it'll be great to have you guys get in on that. So definitely check it out. Again, March 8th, 10:30. Leave your topics in the comments of the most recent edition of Geeky Gentleman. I'll leave a link in the description. So that's announcement / update number 1. I have 3 things actually I want to say. And update number 2, the Godzilla gang, sorry to say, might be pushed back a bit because of the 3rd announcement. But the Godzilla gang is coming back. I just don't know when. Filming for The Return of the King, the first story arc in the new Godzilla gang series, is underway. All scripting is done, but we're getting through shooting, and obviously since it's a stop-motion show, it does take some time and effort to shoot. I can't just jump in front of a camera like I'm doing now and just, you know, act it out, but well, I have to do that anyway, but it does take some time and effort, and especially for this one, since it's a little bit more complicated than stuff I've done in the past with fighting and such. So I'm sorry if that gets pushed back a bit. I was hoping actually for a February release, but that's not happening, unfortunately, since this is the last day of February when I'm recording this. But I'm hoping for potentially an early April release of Godzilla Gang Return of the King, which will mark the return of the Godzilla Gang, which will be followed by a full season for the Villain Gang, which we had a pilot for already later in 2012. Super DM has fleshed out an entire season for me, and we're going to be airing that probably during the summer. And then after that, we have a bigger Godzilla Gang story coming, which I won't spoil for you yet. So that's the Godzilla Gang stuff. So again, it's inevitably gonna get pushed back from when I intended it to be released. Again, I'm hoping for March, but we'll see, or even April. But again, we'll see. Third and final announcement: why is the Godzilla Gang getting pushed back? 4 words: I'm making a movie. Yes, indeed. Not that the Godzilla Gang isn't really a movie, well, it's filming, but it is more of a TV show or a YouTube a YouTube show, a web series. I am actually going into production on a feature-length film. Nothing like official or anything, but or at least like through Hollywood. Obviously, I'm 18, that'd be weird. But I am going into production on my own independently created feature film, which I don't want to reveal much about yet, but a teaser trailer for it will be going up soon. So I just wanted to announce that, and that'll also explain why my channel may go through some very, very fluctuation kind of droughts and abundances of videos. Now, what I mean by that, as of right now, I'm going to be on Geeky Gentleman every week. That's probably going to stay stable. I've been trying to keep that up since I came back from my college hiatus. But if it does end up with a movie, because the movie, just because of, you know, the people I have involved, has to kind of come first in some cases. So if the movie does end up getting in the way, I'll have to, you know, someone will have to fill in for me on Geeky Gentleman that week. But right now, that should be okay. Geeky Gentleman, me being on it, should be fine. But making my own independent reviews and bringing back stuff like ZGC, which I have been dying to do, just Adam Gorzard and I have had a very hard time meeting up. I've talked to them both independently at various points throughout the past few months, but they're both super busy. Adam's in production on his own movie right now, which I urge you to go check out the teaser trailer. It looks fantastic. So he's busy. Gorzard got a job, the Square, so Saturdays where we usually recorded ZGC are gone, dead. So ZGC is very much so in trouble right now. So the next time the 3 of us meet up, we're going to work out what we're doing with ZGC. That being said, that's all the updates for now on Zazubar Film Productions. Thank you very much for watching. By the way, I also hope you're enjoying the new logo. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Zazubar, and I'll see you soon.